Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for everybody joining. We have a worldwide audience today. We're going to give everyone a couple more minutes to join. It's around 4 o'clock in London. It's 11 a.m. on the East Coast and 8 a.m. on the West Coast. So we'll give everyone a few more minutes and we'll get started. Got 3 minutes past the hour. We'll give it about another minute and a half, 2 minutes, and we'll get started. Thanks again. We're going to give it one more minute and then we'll get started. Thanks again. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about the webinar. We are using the webinar features within the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask a question in the chat at any time. We'll try to answer those at the very end. If for some reason we run out of time and are not able to answer them, we will follow up with you and send an email response, as well as all the questions that are asked with the answers for everyone else. If you do have a question or need help, you can raise your hand and someone will be able to reach out and assist. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So today's webinar is around Birst and the Infor M3 platform, talking about how to make faster, quicker, better informed decisions by using Birst within your M3 application or within your organization. All right, my name is Massimo. I am the practice director here at Avaap. I've been with Avaap now 6 years as of yesterday. I am responsible for our product line as well as our BI practice. I came from a customer, so a lot of the stories I'm going to be talking about is things that I witnessed as a customer of Lawson, or things that I've seen from other customers as well. What we're going to go through today is really talk about what Birst is. So for many of you, this might be the first time you're seeing it. So we're planning on demonstrating what Birst can do and how it'll help. And we'll talk about the best practices of of implementing Birst. All right, and then again at the very end we'll get to questions and answers. All right, so before we get started, what I wanted to do was make this a little bit interactive for you guys. So I know it's hard with a webinar, but what I've done is put together some questions, very simple questions, just to make sure everybody's here. You know, what I wanted to start with is, what department do you represent? This will allow me to tailor the webinar based on who's actually in the audience. So if you could, go ahead and select one of the options there. You have finance, manufacturing, supply chain, IT, or other, if I didn't include you in there. We'll give it about 20 seconds, let everybody try to answer, and then we'll relay the information. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what we had for our results. We had a good mix of folks. Let's see what they say. So we've got a lot from IT. Just to give you background, I actually came from an IT organization. So hello, my old friends from IT. Good number from finance. We don't have anyone from manufacturing. Okay. Looks like we have some distribution, supply chain folks, and some other, so maybe customer support reps in some other areas. All right. So that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do is then on our demo, I'm not going to include any manufacturing. I'll go into distribution and some custom orders and some finance stuff just to go through that. So you can see what I just did there is I used analytics to make a determination or decision on what I need to do with the rest of this. And this is what we're going to be doing when we talk about Birst, is being able to make decisions. All right, how many of you have seen or own Birst? So basically your options are own Birst, you've seen it, you've heard of it, or you know how to spell it, B-I-R-S-T. Go ahead and select your options there. I'll give you guys a couple seconds. This one's not too hard. All right, let's go ahead and share the results now. And let's see here. So most of you have heard of it. A few of you own it. That's great. And a couple of you know how to spell it. That's awesome. All right. So next question, last one for a little bit. This is going to help me understand where everybody's attention is right now in the BI space. How many of you use Excel spreadsheets? How many of you use Access databases? Still using reports? How many of you are using charting or KPIs, also known as KVIs, key performance indicators, key value indicators? Go ahead and select that. And there are, if you use multiple, go ahead and select all that apply that you use within your organization. This is going to help me understand better, how many of you are using some of these features now, and be able to focus there within Birst. All right, let's go ahead and show the results. And we have, all right, so very typical of most organizations. So for what we have on the call, almost all of us are using Excel spreadsheets, all of us are using reports, about a third of us are using Access databases, half are using charting. That's great. KPIs, 63%, that's awesome. We did this about a few weeks ago, so let me share with you what we have currently from a webinar we did a long time ago. So very similar. 85%. I mean, all these numbers are matching up pretty close. We said 50%. Where I'm surprised is the folks that are on the call now are at 60% on the KPI. So that's very promising. That's good to know. And just to show it in a pretty graph, there you go. All right. So very quickly, let me talk about who Avaap is. Avaap's been in business now for 10 plus years. I want to say we're at 12 years now. We are Infor's largest alliance partner. We are CloudSuite specialized. We are Birst specialized. We are certified in Birst. We are certified in CloudSuite. We are certified in M3, all areas within the M3 application. We've done many cloud migrations. We've won many awards. Just a ton of knowledge on the teams. We have folks in the US, in Canada, in Europe, and in India. So we are spread across the entire world. So we have people working in your time zone available to assist and work on any project that you may have within the M3 application. So what does Infor do, or excuse me, what does Avaap do within the Infor Birst realm? Like I said, we are the #1 alliance partner. We are strategically focused on Infor. We focus on implementing customers utilizing a value-based design. And what this does is not try to figure out what you've done in the past. That is one part of it. But what we're trying to do is solve your problems. What is it that makes you successful as an organization? What makes you have a competitive advantage over your competitors? And focusing on those kinds of problems and questions to show those kinds of answers to your users so that they can make better, quicker, more informed and valuable decisions within their area of responsibility. Within the team, we have 11 folks within our Birst practice. We have a couple that are from former Birst employees. Combined, we have over 50 years of BI experience within the team, crossing all different verticals, all different areas. So we have M3 expertise in manufacturing, distribution, financials, customer orders, anything within the M3 application. We have those kinds of experts already that know Birst as well. So what is Birst? All right, this is what I want to focus on. I want to talk about what Birst can do, what it is, and how it'll help you. So, when we talk about business intelligence, the first thing I want to be able to talk about is there's an evolution curve with business intelligence, right? Most of us started with utilizing Excel, running some numbers, crunching some numbers, doing pivot tables, maybe VLOOKUPs, or we've created crystal reports. And basically all these things show us is a list of data from different sources, a list of what's happening in our system. What did we buy? Who did we buy it from? Those are things that have happened in the past, right? The next stage of BI is really going into what I consider a true dashboard, utilizing metrics, key performance indicators, key value indicators, being able to discover data. And when I say discover, being able to take data that's already been polished for the company and blending that data with other data from different areas. So now instead of saying what happened, I can say, all right, what's going on now? Who are our best suppliers? Who are our best customers? Do we have enough money in our bank accounts? Which suppliers are producing good value for us? Why are they producing good value? Because maybe they're closer to us, or we just have more contracts with them. The case to open that up. And then eventually with BI, the idea is to then do the ability to do forecasting, where now being able to see data from your past, seeing data from your current should be able to give you insight into what will happen. So now instead of saying, all right, we feel that this is what's going to happen, so let's go ahead and start making decisions that say, all right, demand's going to be lowered next week because of X, Y, and Z. Let's decrease our demand within the organization. Let's go ahead and have people take off so that the following week when there's higher demand, we'll have more people available on demand. So what is Birst? This is a standard textbook definition of what Birst is. When we're at the very end, you're going to see that I'm going to change this definition to something that's more fruitful. But basically what Birst is, it's a next-gen business intelligence tool that lives and works in the cloud. So this is where, as a user, you can go into Chrome or Internet Explorer or Firefox and access your dashboards directly. You can build your dashboards directly in here. You can build your modeling in the same tool. There's no install needed for your users to access the Birst tool. So what does that entail? That entails bringing in your application, so your Infor application, your M3 application. If you have any external sources of data, So if you're in manufacturing, you might have a different system for your labor. You might have folks that are clocking in a system and you want to bring that data in. You may have some information about your customers that you may want to bring in, or your vendors, right? So you might have these ancillary applications or ancillary databases that you want to be able to blend in together with your M3 data and be able to see your data holistically. So Birst allows you to do that. You're able to connect to that. Birst then ingrains their technology, and this is where Birst sets itself apart from other BI platforms. Birst has this tool, this patented technology called ADR, Auto Data Refinement. And what this allows is it allows users to be able to take all their data sources, so all their tables, their Excel files, anything that you have in your organization that has data in it, and be able to produce what we call a star schema. On the right-hand side, it's a you have your attributes and your dimensions. That creates your star schema that allows you to build out your modeling within the application. This is a huge differentiator that Birst has that other BI platforms do not have, and it's all built in to the cloud. What they do with that technology then is they put on top of that a semantic layer. So when you have users who may have, if you think about Excel, users will be able to have the ability to open up Excel, connect to the database, and then start discovering and manipulating data and being able to do that. With Birst, you can do the same thing. You open up the Birst application, you go into the database, and you can start discovering it. But unless you have a really strong user, it's hard to do that because they may not know all the relationships between table A and table B. So what Birst does is they created a semantic layer, and the semantic layer is basically a buffer between the user and the database, and it allows the users to utilize a system that has predefined business definitions. So when I go and look and say, all right, I need to know what profitability was, they're not having to figure out what does profitability mean. Does that mean revenue over expenses? Or is that revenue over expenses minus freight costs, add in sales commissions or discounts, maybe subtract commissions for other sales organizations? So being able to blend all this data, being able to network all this data and have all this defined within the business, having one source of the truth, this is key for users being able to open up the application to business users who may not be as tech savvy with the database tables. And so what does this look like? Basically as a user, I can go in there and say, all right, what are my measures? Those are my numeric values. What's the sum of the sales, or what's the distinct count of vendors that we've used this year, by attributes being what you want to slice and dice the data by. So again, being able to say, all right, here's my measures, my sales price, my delivery count, rejected quantity, things like that. And then also create special rules, special formulas that you can utilize that everyone has access to within the semantic layer, where you can build out your own rules. All right, and then you have network BI. So this again is talking about being able to bring in all sources of data within your organization and blending that data. So here you can see I have the different color bubbles that show the different unique data sources, and then the red dotted line shows how I can take those tables within those individual areas and blend that data, and that includes Excel files, uh, access systems, whatever you're utilizing, you can be able to bring in there and blend that data. And then the end result is that you have a visualization layer, a presentation layer that your users can access. Most users will go through the dashboards and see all their metrics and be able to see, here I have my metrics, I have some charting, I have some heat maps, basically what's going on with the health of my company. They'll be able to do discovery. So be able to create their own charting and be able to go into that semantic layer and build data values and charts based on what they're trying to look at within the organization. Those same dashboards are available on your mobile phone. There's a Birst application out there on the network or in um, the Google store as well as the iPhone store. You can download it and then access the exact same dashboards you would have done if you were on a machine, on a PC. Here, this is a couple of dashboards that I pulled off my phone, just to show you that I didn't steal the screenshots. I even wrote my initials and I wrote some notes. Notes and ME, my initials. All right. You do have the ability to still do reporting. There's nothing wrong with reporting. Business users are going to still need reporting, and you're going to have that ability to create your reports just like you have in the past. So you can have those reports and I'll have it all integrated within the Birst platform and see that data when needed. And you can still integrate other applications into the Birst technology semantic layer and actually build it. So here, this is a crystal report that's showing the sum of sales by the category of what I have. This is what it looked like in Crystal. This is what it looks like in Excel. But my favorite is still being able to do it with Birst. But again, if you have certain things that you've done, you can still utilize what you have and be able to take advantage of the Birst technology. And this, at the end basically results in better business analytics, the ability for your users to do self-discovery, be able to discover their data on their own, be able to be on the fly, get analytics wherever you're at any time, allows users to have that self-service capability so they can do it on their own. You can also set it up so that they can access the database and not have them do it on their own. And it is extendable. You can utilize any outside resource source, and you can connect directly to Birst or connect to other data sources. All right, so before I get into the demo, I wanted to give you an example that might resonate with a lot of you, all right? So I've got just a couple of slides on my car, all right? So what does that mean? So in February, so this is as of February, I got a report, basically some metrics on my vehicle, all right? Very quickly, I'm not looking at anything, I'm just looking at the colors, right? I'm looking at it's all green, emissions, airbag, oil life, tire pressure, everything looks good. I drill into my oil and my tire pressure, everything looks good, right? I can look at each one. I can individually look at each item. I can drill into it and look. Now in April, I got the same report, and all of a sudden something's, I got something that looked at my eye, right? I was able to see something that stood out, and I said, all right, let me drill into that. And so when I drill into it, I'm able to see that, my rear tires were the same, but my front ones were a little off. So this is telling me now I need to take action. I need to do something, right? In order to keep my car running efficiently, so that it'll last me a very long time, I want to make sure that I have the information that I need, and not overload the data. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with customers who will have, a wall of numbers. And what that means is that I've got a report that gives me everything I need, but it gives me everything I need. And I can't make really sound and quick decisions without having to do the investigative work and analyze that data, right? I started out with a very holistic picture of what was going on with my car. I then drilled into it to see what was going on to get more details. And that's what Birst does, all right? Birst allows me to figure out, did I have a good year last year, right? Was I successful? Was I profitable? Do I have a small aging balance? Do I have anything that's outstanding on my purchase orders? Do I have equipment that's fully utilized? How are my suppliers' performance? Do I need to look at the contracts I have? Do I need to make changes because I have non-on time or I have too many late deliveries, right? Were we successful in being on time and delivering our products on time and in full, right? Whatever department you represent, there is a story behind what you do as an organization. What makes your company successful based on what you're doing? And being able to find that data and being able to show it quickly so that you can make quicker decisions and more sound decisions on what needs to be changing within your organization to stay afloat, to stay competitive with your competitors. That's what Birst brings to the table. All right, what can't be analyzed cannot be improved. If I've got a wall of numbers, it's not going to help me when I'm trying to solve a problem that I don't know I have a problem with. Yes, I can go in there and say, all right, let me remember on the first of the month, I need to go and look at all these data values. But let's be honest, be realistic. That doesn't really happen that often. You know, you want to be more proactive and not be reactive. And in order to be able to be proactive, you have to be able to see your data and the right kind of data in a more quicker fashion so that you can make those decisions that are needed. All right. So let's jump into the demo. I've got a couple of examples I'm going to do. So I took out the manufacturing one. I'm going to do an example on distribution, some custom orders, and accounts payable. All right, so some examples, right? In distribution, what has not been delivered, what is late, what is still open, right? I might look at that data and say, all right, if it's still open, I might need to call these customers and let them know there's problems. Maybe I'm trying to solve this so that I don't keep having late delivery. So I can look at what's actually happened in the last, month, what was delivered late and what was partially. I'm going to do a couple of these examples. I'm not going to do all of these. On the customer order side, I may just look at what's pending, what customer orders are open and due soon. What is our shipment performance for our top customers? On the AP side, I'll look at something maybe what's due in the next 30 days or how many vendors have not been paid. So let me jump into the Birst tool. So again, it is just using Chrome. This is a live demo, so this is what I have in my system today. So here, if I want to look at what's not been delivered or basically still late or still open, I can go into my order execution. I can see in my order execution very quickly that I have about $1.5 million worth of product that's not been delivered, 26 lines outstanding, and the number of items is 16,000 plus. So let me drill into here, right? See what's going on, see if there's something that I need to do. Let's refresh the page. All right, so again, this is using Chrome, so I'm accessing it directly. There's nothing recorded here. So here I'm going to drill into the order execution and see what's going on. Again, $1.5 million. I've got a bunch of stuff. Let's look at the late stuff. So let's just click here really quickly and look at the outstanding items here. And so here I can drill down and see what's going on. If I wanted to look at just the late items, I can just highlight it and it selects it. So again, it's very interactive, allows users to discover, and I can see which ones are not delivered and are late, and I can look at these customers and do some type of action, call them, let them know it's coming, possibly give them a refund, possibly give them a credit, whatever I need to do as a decision I can make based on looking at this data. If I want to look at what's been delivered late, maybe I'm in customer service and I want to look at that, I'll click on customer satisfaction, see what's actually been late. I can try to see what's my success rate, what's my delivery rate. So here I've got 67%, I've got 69%. These may not be great numbers for my organization, or they might be. But again, it depends on what you're doing to be able to see what's going on. Again, I can see what was late in full for this month in process and see what's going on here. I can see this was late and in full, on time and full. So we've got a good percentage. Half our stuff is on time. Maybe you're looking for a higher percentage, so maybe you can drill into these and see where we're having problems. So this was delivered, but it's late. I can drill into here and see more information if I wanted to. Let's jump into custom orders. So I'm going to swap spaces. I'm going to go into a different area. So this allows me to control, which teams have access to which spaces if they have different responsibilities and different items. So let's go into the custom orders, select this, and again, let's see how many total COs are opened. So here we have 100, so let's drill into that, see which ones we have. And in here, I've got 100 open COs. I can see it by date. I could see it by customer. So I've got 16 still open for this particular customer. I've got it by warehouse, so I can see which ones I need to staff more. So this, our first warehouse right here, our main one, probably needs some folks to be there so we can reallocate resources based on what's pending and what's going on. All right, and then let's look at the analysis on our customers. So let's jump into the delivery analysis. And again, same concept where here I can see that I have 71 COs that are due out. I can see that in July. So this was done at the end of June. If I was planning out my month, I could say, all right, on July 5th, I've got a huge number of orders that are being prepared. Versus the rest of the month, which is looks like normal. So you can see here on the 21st, the 24th, I got a very light day. Same thing on the 6th. So I can say, all right, you know what? People who are supposed to work on the 6th or the 4th, let's get them in on the 5th. Give them the day off on the 4th and the 6th. Here, on the last week of the month, light day on the 24th. But heavier days on the 26th, 27th. So let's give more people the day off. So again, I can make better decisions based on the data that's in my system and be able to prepare and forecast what I need to do going forward. Let's jump into accounts payable. And take a look at our outstanding, our how much money we have due coming up. All right, so let's jump into the dashboards and see how much is due in the next 30 days, or basically our aging report that we would have ran. So I'm opening this up. Now again, if you had multiple finance systems, other finance systems, maybe you have the Infor CloudSuite Financials application, you could tie in all the data, receivables, projects, capital projects, inventory, contracts, and put them all here. You can even have metrics, key performance numbers for each of the areas, profitability, aging numbers, purchasing items, things like that. You can have them all in here based on what your organization utilizes. So here, let's take a look. So here we can see what we have outstanding. Let's take a look at what our aging balance is. You can see here I have about, let's see, 1.2 million that's due in the next 30 days. Total due for this year is around 10 million, but in the next 30 days, it's 1.2. And it's really all with this particular one vendor right here. So if I'm having cash flow problems, I can maybe reach out to my top 2, top 3 and say, hey, can I keep my discount if I'm delayed 1 or 2 or 3 days? Again, being able to make those decisions before it becomes too late, right? Here I can see that my average due dates have been climbing from April to May. If I wanted to see, vendors that haven't been paid this year, again, I can look at that because maybe, I might want to make sure that if they're not active, let's not keep them in the system, right? We want to be proactive. So here I can see that in 2018, I had 10 vendors that were paid, and 13 of them are still in the system. So that means I've got 3 vendors who have not been paid this year that are still in my system as active that I might want to take out to reduce any risk within our organization. And again, I can see data on what's been paid out to which vendors, by how many invoices, by how many, how much dollars comparative last year to this year. So again, I can see this data very easily, quickly, and then drill down into it if I needed to see more information. All right. So again, with Birst, the idea is that we are trying to utilize the key features of the tool and implementing a value-based design where we focus on what is important to your organization. And doing this, what we try to do is eliminate the data silos. So instead of having every department have their own Excel worksheet and everybody having their own reports, and having a CFO ask the team, say, hey, what's our profitability like the last 3 months, right? It won't be different. The answer won't be different from person A to person B to person C, right? So having all this data into the semantic layer, having everybody use that one source of the truth so that they don't have to hunt for the data is very key, right? Because if I have a wall of numbers, it's great because I have all the data I need, but it requires me to look at it. And typically what happens is if there's too much data, too much information, too many reports, most times a lot of that goes unanswered. They don't get used as often, and things that are supposed to be getting solved are not because people are spending too much time hunting for data. So what Birst can do is allow the users to spend less time hunting and more time making quicker decisions. And again, using the abilities within the tool to do it on their own without having to work with other teams. They can have all that data into one place, so they're not having to work in those silos. They can work with the team's semantic layer using that one source of the truth, right? You want to have everyone agree that profitability is, you know, revenue plus discounts minus expenses minus freight costs, whatever your rules are for your organization. It's the same for every department. There's no variation of that. All right. As I showed you, Birst is very, very simple to use. I can go in there and drill into the information and see what's happening and drill to the details. I can even drill back into the M3 application if I needed to. I can go back to the main application with the data and make changes from there. And because everything is packaged inside of Internet Explorer or Chrome or Firefox, whatever is your weapon of choice for accessing the web, everything is built in. So that includes the modeling, that includes the semantic layer, that includes the creation of your dashboards, the creations of your metrics, your visualizations. Everything is in one place. And because of that, there's a faster time of delivery. You know, you're able to get things done quicker. There is a cheaper total cost of ownership. So if you were to compare to, like, let's say a you know, an IBM Cognos, you know, those require a data warehouse. It requires technical expertise. That requires additional servers, additional manpower, and all of that starts adding up. All of those costs start adding up. So Birst is actually, when you look at the total cost of ownership, you'll see on the Gartner reports, which is a independent company that does BI analysis on all these different vendors, you'll see that the total cost of ownership is actually one of the lowest for Birst. If not the lowest, it's top 3. There is a huge differentiator that Birst has that other BI platforms don't. When Infor bought Birst a year ago, we were actually pretty pleased at Avaap because we saw and heard how well Birst was and is, and to buy a really top-notch company was, you know, it's pretty hard to do. When you know you have something that's better than everyone else, it's hard to get someone to sell it. And we thought that was a great move on Infor's part because now they have a real tool that will do everything that customers are looking for. And again, it'll do everything we need them to do in M3, but it also is a true BI technology of the future. It competes so well that it competes with like Tableaus and Power BI. Again, the total cost of ownership is much lower with Birst when you compare to a Tableau. You know, some customers will ask me, well, what's the benefit of Birst over Tableau? Tableau, you know, doesn't out of the box have an enterprise solution. You can build it, but it's more parts, it's more work, it's not intuitive, it's very, very hard to utilize. They don't have a single source of the truth. Delivery is then expanded, so it takes a lot longer. So again, everything that I'm showing right here is what Birst can do compared to almost every other BI platform there is. All right. So when we talk about implementing, right, what are the, you know, what makes it successful? How can you be successful, right? And we've touched on this a little bit, right? We said that in order to successfully implement your BI platform, you want to be able to start off with what we call a value-based design. All right. So if you're going to do this on your own, you want to make sure that you understand what is necessary, right? Don't go in there saying, all right, we've got 500 crystal reports we want to convert. No, that's not where you want to start. You want to start with what makes us a successful company. What are the most important numbers that we need to know so that if something were to go wrong with those numbers, we can make decisions off of that, right? What's great about Birst is that it's agile. So this is why it is a lower delivery time, because it's all built in. It's easier to make changes or easier to add on. All right, those demos, those dashboards that I showed you, each of those areas, each of those spaces. So the distribution, the custom order, the accounts payable, was done by my team. And when I say my team, I had individual people doing these. So I had one person building out the distribution space. I had one person doing the custom order, one person doing the accounts payable, and I've got some other ones that I had. And almost in every example, we were able to build out the entire platform, the entire space that contains 6, 7, 8 dashboards that contain, 8 to 10 to 12 metrics in those pages within 2 weeks. When we made changes, I didn't have to spend another month making changes. It was quick. It was on the fly. When we look at other BI platforms that have a data warehouse, that have all these components, it's not unnormal for those implementations to take anywhere from 12 to 18 months. There's a lot of work that's done on the prep side of things when you're prepping the data, and Birst makes it easy. I showed you that ADR. That ADR there's a reason it's patented. It is really, really great for users, business users, power users who can actually take that data and blend it. They don't have to be a data warehouse expert. They don't have to be, a data scientist. You can be a normal business, guru that knows the data, the tables, the structure, and just utilize a simple tool to build it out. So you can add, you can build on top of what you already have. You don't need to do the big bang theory. You don't have to do it all in one shot. You can take an iterative approach and enable the team to keep adding to it slowly over time, so that within 3 months, you should have something live. All right, you're able to realize immediate value quicker. Within 3 months, you can have 2 or 3 business areas already live, and you can continuously add on to it and expand what you have with the rest of the stuff without impacting the rest of the organization or delaying your go live. So again, earlier I showed you this, right? Birst is, the next gen cloud-based platform, and really what Birst is the ability to make better, informed decisions by seeing your data in your M3 application in a more holistically friendly way. All right, so let's open it up for questions. Melissa, are you able to share with us the questions that we have from the audience?
Sure thing. Great presentation, Massimo. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for joining today. If you have questions, go ahead and submit them in the question pane on the right-hand side. We do have one that came in regarding the star schema. So the question, Massimo, is the populated star schema stored on disk, in the cloud, or in memory? And how long does it take for a full refresh?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very technical question. So I'll answer it as because depending on the folks on the call, I don't want to bore them with the answer. But the data when so again, everything is done in the cloud. So that includes the data that's being prepped is in the cloud. So there's no additional servers on your part that are required. All the data is pumped into the Birst cloud. This is why they've done a very, very good job with their agile approach, where scalability is key for them to be competitive with other companies. Birst is probably the only company that can truly say they are cloud first, and this is where they were able to take all that data, put it into their system. So I can't really go into details as far as where they store it, but it is in their cloud system. They utilize the best equipment. So, and when I say the best, I mean we're talking about disk-based, disks that have the fastest IOs. You're talking about the in-memory system utilization. You're talking about highest CPU utilization. They have it spread across multiple farms within the different cloud systems that they have. a typical refresh, I can't give you an answer on that, unfortunately, because it can be different based on the number of data. But most of our customers are able to do a full data refresh, every 24 hours. That's typical for some customers. We do have some customers that require an always-on connection. What that means is it allows the Birst tool to remain operational, so you can access those reports, those metrics at any time, even while the data is being populated. So nobody else really has that capability. So if you're concerned about having uptime, Birst is your answer because it does have that capability. It has the ability to have always on, so that you're never in the dark while the data is being prepped. Great question.
Excellent. This is great. And yeah, great question, great answer, and great to see so many people submitting questions. We have a lot of interest here, Massimo. Let me get right to the next one. Do you connect Birst directly to the M3 production database?
So this is a great question. So if you're an on-premise customer, the answer is what you would do is you would set up a Birst. It's basically a service that sits on a machine in your network that allows the data to be pumped from your database. So your M3 on-premise database would be basically it's just copying that data and putting it into the cloud. And after every refresh, it's just an iterative approach, right? So it's taking what's changed since the last time that it's looking for and then adding that. So again, when you look at other vendors, there's some that don't even have that capability of being able to do an iterative approach instead of always doing a full backup. So that's what's nice about it. So if you're on-prem, it will connect to that database. If you are multi-tenant cloud, you will be utilizing what they call the data lake. So this is the replication of your data into the data lake. Now, if you're single tenant, I don't know I don't want to gear you in the wrong direction, but we have some customers that are single tenant in the cloud that have a replication data space. So Birst would connect to that. I have heard that there are some others that may not have a replication set, so we could just connect directly to that database in the single tenant form. All right, Melissa, next.
Yeah, next question. Are Birst data reports real time, and does it have its own database?
Great question. So again, the database, to answer your question, it is its own database. It's not a database that you're probably familiar with where you can write a SQL query. So it is not a replication set. It's not a replication database. What it is a system that allows us to pull the data and it creates the semantic layer. That semantic layer is the ability to see all my attributes and measures all in one location. And so that my business users who may not know, where all the values are coming from, they can access that in the semantic layer. So when we talk about the database, that's the part of it. So it's again in the cloud. Melissa, what was the first part of that question? I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Yeah, I'll just repeat the whole question. Are Birst data reports real time, and does it have its own database?
So the real-time question, so Birst can do a real-time connection if you wanted it to. You can do a live access, live database. So if you have, let's say, a cube already pre-built, you can directly access that. With analytics, what we find is, and this has been true for the last 15 years with analytics, is that to do it properly, you want to have some true, what I call modeling, a true star schema, so you can have that. So could you have it live? You could. We have some customers that are very close to live, within the last few minutes. Is it within instantaneous? Probably not. What we try to do, again, during that value-based design, what's important to you? Do you need to know the data within within 10 minutes, within 30 minutes, within an hour, within a day? It all goes back to what your team requires and needs. All right, so the answer is yes, it can do anything of those sorts. What we find is customary, though, is that most customers do it every 24 hours. Some can do 12 hours. We've seen that as another big number. So hopefully that answers your question. Next question, Melissa.
All right. Does Birst come with a prepackaged set of analytics for M3?
Great question. So they are working on, so if you're moving to the cloud, there is work being developed that once you go to the CloudSuite for M3, that Birst will have some pre-built analytics in there. Will it solve every problem you have? I don't believe so, but will it give you a good starting point? Yes, it probably will. That should be available once you go to the cloud. If you're not going to the cloud or staying on premise, they are selling a solution pack. I don't know the cost involved with it, but again, it's a starter pack, so it'll get you there. Will it do everything for you? I don't know yet because I have not been able to see it. It's not been released. It's due out, I want to say, after October, November timeframe. So they will be making that out. We do have a lot of M3 customers though that have Birst and they've been able to build it. Again, there's a shorter time to deployment with Birst, so you can start from scratch and it won't take up that much time. You know, and it's a really good way of doing it, right? Instead of me being handed a solution pack that might do, you know, 50% of what I need, I can start from zero, determine exactly what I need for each team so that I'm not overspending my resources or trying to reinvent the wheel. Because we have some customers that have had solution packs that they still needed to modify and spent a decent amount of time getting it updated to what they needed it for their organization.
All
Next.
right. So we have one more question here. It looks like we've got two questions coming in. All right, very good. Here's the next one. Back to the star schema, Massimo. To what extent is Birst star schema pre-structured to support reporting against a specific table structure of M3? Conversely, how much of the schema needs to be custom defined for M3?
Yeah, I'm not really following the question, but let me go into a present, like a quick slide for that. Let's see if I can pull it up. Here we go. So when we talk about this, this is the modeling. Here's your you know, your star schema. What happens on the right-hand side is the star schema that's automatically generated from the data source on the left. So on the left, I do need to tell it, you know, what are my indexes, what are my measures, and determine what they are. Now, Birst, again, using the ADR, does a really good job of getting 80% there. And I'm not joking when I say 80%. So it'll go look at all the tables that you've selected, and it'll pull all the measures and attributes that you're needing. So these are the, again, the numbers that you're working on. So how much money by, you know, whatever the attribute is, let's say customer, you know, how much money have I spent on this customer? And so I would have all those tables I would pull together, and Birst does a pretty good job of understanding what that is and using date values, you know, so it automatically builds in date by quarter, by year, by month, and pulls that in. So that's done all automatically on the right-hand side. So this star schema, there's not really anything I do. I just tell it where all my measures and attributes are. So there's some involvement. This does require some setup, and this is where you can help. You know, we can help you take advantage of the best practices, the Kimball modeling, where we can show you the best ways of doing this. We've done this enough times now with some of our customers that we can help you build this out quickly so that this is not as big of an obstacle for you, so that you can get straight to the star schema and start utilizing it. So I hope that answers your question. Melissa, go ahead and next question.
Yeah, sure. Will Birst be used inside of Infor M3 or S3 for the real-time reporting out of the ERP system?
Okay, yeah, so the answer is yes. Going forward, the long-term strategy for Infor is that Birst is their BI solution. All right. So what does that mean? That means that everything that has built-in analytics within the M3 or S3 application will be coming from Birst. Will that happen overnight? The answer is no. So they have a team of folks working on this, both on the Birst development side, as well as the Infor M3 functional consultants that they're working to build this out. So over time, you're going to start seeing the replacement of any of the previous BI tools, and everything will be going through BI. Again, Birst is a futuristic BI platform. It is one of the newest platforms that's been out. I want to say right before 2010, I think around 2008 was when they first came out into the market. They are they are transforming the world in BI. They have the largest customers on Birst, and this is why Infor targeted them. They knew how great Birst was doing compared to like the Tableaus and Microsoft with Power BI. So anything that you see in M3 going forward will be from Birst.
All right. So which version of M3 is capable to integrate with Birst?
Great question. Any version. Whatever version you're on, Birst can connect to it. So whether you're still on version 7, if you're on version 10, if you're on version 13, if you're going to the futuristic one on version 19, whichever version of M3 you're on, it will connect to. Whatever database you're using, it'll connect to. So if you're on a DB2, or if you're on a Oracle or a SQL, you'll be able to connect to it. If you have any other application in your organization, it'll connect to it. If you're using Excel files, you can connect to it. It does not matter what version of the application you are on, because Birst can connect to it.
Excellent. Well, that completes our questions for today, Massimo. I want to thank everybody for joining us and for asking all these great questions. I got a thank you from our attendees for that nice answer there. Everyone who's on today's call will get a copy, recording of the presentation. You can watch it on demand at your convenience. If you want to set up time to talk to Massimo or anybody at Avaap regarding M3 and Birst, you can send me an email at info@avaap.com, info@avaap.com, and I'll make sure it gets to the right person. And if you're planning on being in DC in September, come find us at Inforum. Avaap is a gold sponsor, and we'll have a booth right on the show floor and lots of activities. We'll also be doing presentations on great topics for Infor M3 customers, including Massimo. We'll be doing a presentation on Birst at the show. So again, if you're going to be attending, come join us. We'd love to see you. Massimo, any parting words for our attendees today?
No, I mean, so thank you for joining us again. Anybody who is on this webinar can get so this is a promotion that we're doing right now where we're giving out a free readiness assessment. So if you have questions, you want to learn about Birst, with every customer that needs help, we'll help you. We'll put together a readiness assessment for you guys. So again, reach out. You can email info@avaap.com or products@avaap.com, whichever is easier to remember. We'll make sure that we'll get the answer to you.
All righty. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks again for attending. Hope to see you soon. Bye.